अस्सलाम वालेकुम व्यूअर्स, वेलकम करता हूँ आपको टेक बंडल यूट्यूब चैनल पर। आज की इस वीडियो में मैं आपको कंपोनेंट्स ऑफ फाइनेंस के बारे में बताऊंगा। ये सब कंपोनेंट्स ऑफ फाइनेंस है: फाइनेंशियल इंस्ट्रूमेंट, इंटरेस्ट, इन्वेस्टमेंट मैनेजमेंट, लायबिलिटी, मार्केट लिक्विडिटी, कैपिटल मार्केट, करंट एसेट, फाइनेंशियल मार्केट। ठीक हो गया। तो कंपोनेंट्स ऑफ फाइनेंस में हम सबसे पहले फाइनेंशियल इंस्ट्रूमेंट की तरफ चलते हैं। फंडिंग एंड फाइनेंसिंग, इक्विटी एंड डेट इंफॉर्मेशन, ये हम नहीं इसको देखेंगे। व्हाट आर द 5 फाइनेंशियल इंस्ट्रूमेंट्स, हम इसकी तरफ चलते हैं। 5 फाइनेंशियल इंस्ट्रूमेंट्स, फाइनेंशियल, व्हाट आर द फाइनेंशियल इंस्ट्रूमेंट्स एंड व्हाट आर द 5 फाइनेंशियल इंस्ट्रूमेंट्स। Financial instruments and securities. Financial instruments are contracts that represent value. They come in many varieties. In fact, financial managers and bankers have a lot of leeway in creating and issuing financial instruments. The Securities and Exchange Commission regulates publicly traded financial instruments. However, the SEC less stringently regulates private placement instruments. Most financial instruments fall into one or more of the following 5 categories: money market instruments, debt securities, equity securities, derivative instruments, and foreign exchange instruments. Money market instruments. Money market instruments are highly marketable short term debt securities. Furthermore, money market instruments are generally low risk investments. Because of this, they offer yields that are lower than riskier stocks and financial instruments. Often, investors trade money market instruments in large denominations among institutional investors. However, some money market instruments are available to individual investors via money market funds or mutual funds that pool money market instruments. Money market instruments include treasury bills, repurchase agreements, certifications of deposit, commercial paper, bankers' acceptance, euro dollars, and federal funds. Debt securities are longer term debt instruments. With debt instruments, the issuer is essentially borrowing money from the investor. The investor plays the role of a lender, lending money to the issuing entity. Longer term debt securities often yield higher returns than money market instruments. Debt instruments also represent a claim on the assets of the issuing entity. Debt securities are often called fixed income securities. This is because the investor or lender often predetermines the term of the debt instrument. For example, a debt instrument will be issued with a certain maturity, a certain principal amount, and a set coupon rate. However, while debt securities are often called fixed income securities, this does not mean that they yield a fixed stream of payments. Debt securities returns can fluctuate and vary. Examples of debt securities include treasury notes, treasury bonds, inflation protected treasury bonds, federal agency debt, international bonds, municipal bonds, corporate bonds, junk bonds, mortgage backed securities, and other types of debt. Equity securities represent shares of ownership in a company. In addition, equity securities often come with voting rights. They represent the shareholders' interest in the issuing company and a residual claim on the company's assets. This means if the issuing company goes bankrupt and has its assets liquidated, then the equity holders only get their money back after all other relevant claimants have been paid when they are owned. सो दिस वाज द वीडियो जिसमें मैंने आपको फाइनेंस के कुछ कंपोनेंट्स के बारे में बताया। ये एक स्पेसिफिक कंपोनेंट था फाइनेंशियल इंस्ट्रूमेंट्स। तो ये वीडियो आपने टेक बंडल यूट्यूब चैनल पर देख रहे हैं तो चैनल को सब्सक्राइब कर दें और बेल आइकन प्रेस कर दें। वीडियो पसंद आई हो तो वीडियो को लाइक कर दें।